Hi, I'm Marianne,
And I'm Lorna.
and we're here with the Isn't She Amazing podcast. And today our guest is Susan McCorkindale, the wonderful author of this book, Bounce, which is just a testimony to resilience. So, Susan, we are so glad you're here, and we're just going to have a chat. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Thank you for inviting me, and congratulations on Isn't She Amazing? This is wonderful.
Thank you. So can you just tell me just a little background on, for people who don't know you and haven't read your previous two books, which were similar in that they were about your, confessions of a counterfeit farm girl and 500 Places and No Place to Hide, and both Amazon bestsellers. But this is a little different. This book, Bounce, is a little bit different. So tell me how this one came about.
Well, Bounce, the whole title is Bounce, a Memoir of Resilience. So the whole focus is on resilience, personal resilience, developing your own resilience, and why it's important. But the book came about as all of my books come about, which is that I write about my life. And what I do is they're just little short pieces, slices of life, I like to call them, and slices of my life. And I write, and I stick it in my laptop. And, over time I have several pieces of my life. And then I go along further and I've written some more, and maybe I've written about, cleaning out Stu's closet after he passed away. Or maybe I've written about, forcing my older son to learn to drive and go to school. Or maybe I've written about something else. And after a while, I have all of these essays. And so that's how it was for Confessions of a Counterfeit Farm Girl, and for 500 Acres and No Place to Hide, and also for Bounce. I have all of these things, and then I string them together. See, because if I ever sat down and told myself, okay, I'm going to write a book, I wouldn't write anything. Like, there would be nothing that comes out of me. I would be so scared, I would sell my laptop. You know what I'm saying? So forget that. So I just write things, and then I hang them together. Usually there's some chronology to it. It is into some degree chronological order. But what I've also learned over time is that there are things that I write, and I'm sure other, especially humor writers, do this as well, that they're just funny, and it's just about something specific. Maybe going to the salon to have a facial and discovering what you really need is like a mini tuck, and you're like, yeah. Maybe that's really funny. So where can that go then in the first, second, or third section of the book? It becomes sort of like, an operation. You're moving the pieces around and you're trying to figure out, where can I put this? So then when you wind up with a lot of that stuff, you can figure out where you need the levity, or where you just can go off on a tangent about, okay, I'm a mom, I lost my husband, I have an autistic kid. That's really a lot. A lot of women can relate to that. They can also relate to discovering, really, there's nothing else we can do for you but a mini talk. Okay? I can put that someplace. So my books are they're essays, and then I cobble them together as a book.
It sounds like all your musings fit right in with who we are.
Well, and I just want to say, when I was reading your book, I was like, there's so much, it so resonated with me, because I just have, and I've just started to write, but I tend to write very similar to the way you do. It's just kind of like this dump of kind of like what I'm feeling or what I experience, because so many women experience the same thing.
Same thing.
But they don't talk about it.
Right.
Everyone's like, why is someone like, did they get a mini tuck?
Why would you say that? Right.
But, and even like going into that, like so much of it, recently with COVID and all the mental health issues, like it was really brave of you to come out and talk about it. Because even though
I can't help myself, Lorna.
but it's like so many people are so many of us are experiencing that, but don't want to talk about it. Yeah. So is that just you, or was there something?
That's just me. I was born without a filter. My mother will happily tell you that. I have gumball machine mouth. Whatever I think comes right out. So what I do is I let it. I just type it all up as it's coming out. I have been told, though, that it's nice that women, feel like we're sitting across from each other as they're reading what I've shared. And they're like, it's like I'm sitting here with you having a cup of coffee and you're just talking straight. We're just shooting the shit. There's
Right.
no, going around it. You're just direct. And I'm like, well, I kind of figure, okay, maybe I'm the one willing to be direct, but
Mhm.
we're all thinking it.
Right, right.
Right? So like, let's just do it already.
Exactly.
Like we might make more progress if we all were teamed up and speaking what we thought. Maybe COVID wouldn't have gone on for 2 years. Maybe the women could have gotten together after a year and said, hold it, wait a minute. And we would have wrapped it up faster than the guys did.
Maybe,
Like,
yeah. That's a good thought.
I don't know.
I love
We'll
your
see.
authenticity, Susan, because it's
Oh,
just,
thank you.
that's what comes across so beautifully. Like the example you used in your book about the wine
That was funny.
episode and the grocery store in the morning. And this was not too long after Stu died, right?
That's right.
When
That's right.
you were still really seriously just coping.
Yes, putting one foot in front of the other. That's what you do. You fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So tell us
And
about the wine episode.
oh God, that was funny. So it was our first vacation as a threesome. And I was smart, like in the sense that we went to Myrtle Beach because our friends were all going to Myrtle Beach. Like I didn't take us off someplace by ourselves. Like that I would not have survived. And I was also very like panic stricken at the time. I had very severe panic attacks and everything. So I couldn't. I kind of needed to go where I would have real support. So we get there late and everything. Oh, because also I can make a 9-hour trip in 13 hours. Thank you.
Ah, wow.
Oh, wow. So we arrive, everybody's in bed. There's like nothing open. So the next morning, Kyler and I, my younger son, we have to go to the supermarket. And there we are in the Food Lion, in Myrtle Beach. And really he just wants swim goggles and maybe a couple donuts and everything. He wants the Poppums, the Entenmann's Poppums. And I want wine for later on. I don't care anything else about it. I need wine for later on. And it was just funny because, he's a cut up, he was trying really hard to be a cut up and he is a funny boy. But he was just a little boy. He just lost his dad,
Yeah.
And there we are in this store and I'm looking for wine. And as you can tell, I'm one of those people, like if there's music playing in the supermarket, I'm the one who starts to dance, and, or if there's a song I know in the supermarket, I'm the one who's singing it where my kids are like this. So, and I'm looking for wine and I'm like, do I want that? And I'm paying attention to this one over here who's complaining about, monkey bead and, this one over here, and the all ridiculous names of the wine and everything. And I'm like trying to engage with the other customers and they're all looking at me like crazy. And we try to engage with this couple with their kid and everything. And I forget what Carlos said to the kid. Because the woman made some comment to her husband, like some people, and I was like, all right. And Kai was like, leans over to the kid. He goes, I know my mom's just a kidder, she'd never let me and my brother drink anything but beer for breakfast, or something like that. It was just
Right.
funny.
Right. It was something similar to that.
Funny
Yeah.
that the parents were like, oh my God. And finally, we go to check out and everything. And I don't know, Kyler is still, all about his swim goggles and he's trying to get them out of the packaging. And he rips the swim goggles open and they like fly across the supermarket. And he's got to go get them now near one of these people that I had interacted with who are not fans of ours. They're not fans. And he sneaks over. He's like, it's a recon mission, Mom, Treasure is just like, do you two always have this much fun at the supermarket? And I was like, we're trying, I was like, we're getting there. And yes, I was authentic. The chapter is called Wine. It's What's for Breakfast because I don't know. It was where I needed it. I didn't need it for breakfast. I just needed to know it's going to be there at cocktail hour.
You have to make sure it's ready for when you need it.
You need it to
cold, And we just had a good time doing it. And I think that that was important, that it was just me and the little guy then, and out to do something together. And of course, he had to get a gift, swim goggles. That was important. And the little Entenmann's Pop-Ums,
Well, that's always the incentive for going to the store with mom. At least that was in our house.
Food and something to play with, right? Can we go in the toy aisle? And I knew it was good to do that with him. He needed to see that I was okay, that I could take him shopping, and I wasn't going to start to cry, and he wasn't going to cry, and we were going to have a good time. So, yeah, we did. We had a good time.
I noticed how you use those episodes to really help you and the kids build resilience. That's what you did. You made everything sort of, we just have to deal with this. We're just going to do it. We'll be fine. We'll make it happen. And through all that, you've been such a great, attentive mom. And
but on the flip side, you also wallowed a bit, and you were very transparent about that. So you've got to be like you are. You're like, we got to just keep going. But some days I just can't, and that's okay.
Exactly. Well, yes. In the wallowing, you can find the energy, because you're wallowing, so you're not running around as much. You're not, I don't know how to explain it. It was a low energy time for me, but you're also kind of thinking it through and realizing, like, a change of perspective. Okay, this is really bad, but I have to keep going. I have to keep putting my feet in front of the other, because this isn't just about me. This is about these boys who need to see me setting the example. Right. I think though, to a degree, that wallowing is important. It allows you to hide under your desk for like an hour every day and get your stuff together, and be able to have the energy for when they come in the door, to put your one foot in front of the other, make dinner, take them out for pizza, whatever it's going to do, homework. Wallowing is like sort of a way to rest. Not exactly, because you feel really terrible, so that's not restful. But you almost
lets you be. It just lets you be instead of do. You're not doing. You're just being. You're being. You're just being.
That's it, Lorna. That's exactly right.
But Lorna, you mentioned too, speaking of doing, about Susan's 5 do's that you really liked in the book.
Oh yes, I'm like, those are great. They're so great. But then I think, like, could I do those every day, or do I do those every day? So
do you tell us what they are?
Make it a point? Huh?
I have to be honest with you. Let's see. Do I make it a point? No. I haven't in a long time. I wrote that. I had to give a talk at Lord Fairfax Community College, which is now Laurel Ridge or something, right? Yep. And I remember that I wrote that as part of that talk. And I mean what I said about, the 5 do's. Like, my husband just died. Like, don't let your whole life get away from you. If you love somebody, tell them. Okay, I do that.
Do love is the first one, right?
If you love somebody, tell them. If the do leap, if there's something you really want to do, I tell my kids, if that's what you really want to do, then you have to do it. You have to at least try. Shoot for the stars, to the moon, whatever, and we'll see how far you go. Because I don't think anybody should get to the end of their lives and feel like, why didn't I ever take that chance?
Right.
Gosh, the other ones, do love, do leap,
do listen.
Well, and that's like, I think I was talking about like the little voice. I'm not sure if that's
listen to your gut. Yeah, it's listen to your
gut. See, so many people, like my mother taught me that, like from way back. I think I was probably 6. She was like, when your gut, is when something feels funny in your stomach, Susan, that's telling you to take a break, step back, and evaluate the situation. Like that person.
And I have to tell you, I do the same thing. And the times that I have not listened, I was right. Whether it's someone you meet and you're like, I don't know what it is, it just don't feel right to me, or the situation doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then years later, you're like, I knew from the beginning.
I knew right from the beginning. I knew from the beginning during the interview I shouldn't have taken that.
Right.
I knew from the beginning. The first time I met that guy for coffee, I should have just gotten out of the restaurant immediately.
Right.
Right? Like my gut at this point, though, I always talk about my gut. At this point, I joke that my gut is so good. If you're thinking of like, taking a job here, take my gut with you, borrow it for the day. If you're thinking of moving someplace really far, here, take my gut with you, go check it out, bring it back when you're done. Like my gut is that good. My gut tells me stuff all day long.
You just have to listen to it.
Well, and that's tough because there's sometimes, right, we don't want to listen. We want to say, oh, you can't always be right.
You're not right.
You're not right this time.
Because I really want to do this.
Right?
You
That's
made
what
an
happens.
interesting point too about the doing stuff at the end of your book. You had like 31 days of
Resilience
resilience.
builders.
That's right. I forget which number this one was, but it was about when you do something, stop being type A about it, because then it never gets done. Did you call it
And
type B or
well, you go for the big.
go for the B? That
Call
was
it go
it.
for
Yes.
the big, right? Because for the most part, these women sitting here right now, their work is A. Your work is A plus, and other people, they don't do that kind of work. So sometimes it's okay to go for the B, because your B is still so close to an A.
It's good enough.
Enough, and get on with
That's
it.
something I've had to learn, because it is like, I'm definitely type A.
Good enough, and good enough is good enough, because
Yeah.
perfection is deadly and boring, and it will destroy everything. It will stop your progress. It will ruin your day ultimately.
And when you're juggling so much stuff like you have been and were for the past 12 years, you mentioned you have an autistic son who has grown up to be an amazing and self-sufficient young man.
He's
and
an
then
amazing
Kyler
guy.
was like what was it? He lacrosse star or
He's
is it
playing Major League Rugby.
rugby? I know, I get them mixed up. Sorry.
Wow.
He's so cool. They're both cool. They turned out great.
They're very cool. But then also the transitions of everything you have been juggling, you've been through life changes. You've been through good relationships / bad relationships and now you're in a great relationship with Robert and things are going really, really well. And you've done that. You have done that. And
I did do that.
Amazing.
It comes down to, you don't have any other choice. Like, you hope you make the right decisions. But you got to keep moving forward, because you lose, everybody loses if you don't do that. Even if I didn't have kids, what am I not going to move forward? My parents, they would be brokenhearted if something happens.
Right.
You have to keep going. Like, I think you do.
And we have one life to live. We have one life.
That's it.
So we can wallow and we can say, I made a mistake.
We can say, I'm going for it.
That was a mistake. I've just got to switch gears and I've got to move forward.
Exactly.
And it's that one step, and you're going to keep making mistakes. You're going to fall, you're going to stumble, and you're going to have great successes. But you've got to celebrate those as much as you celebrate the knots, the stumble.
You know what? When you fall down, it's like, just get up. It stinks. I'm sorry that failed. It didn't work for you this time. You really wanted that promotion. What have you? You didn't get it. That guy turned out to be a jerk. It didn't work out. Okay. You wallow for a little bit.
Right.
You go under the desk, and then you got to come back out and then look at it. Go, okay, what can I learn from that?
Right.
What can I do differently in the future?
And you and Lorna are both so really good at maintaining community and friendships and allowing other people in your lives to help. And you some good points about what was it that people did that you wish they didn't do or say, and then other suggestions, maybe if somebody's watching who would wish that somebody would do this or say this for them when they're going through a tough time. What are the do's and don'ts there? Yeah.
But so many times people don't know what to say. Like, even, you just, something is happening and you're like, I know that person's really hurting and they're a good friend. I don't know what to say. Do you say nothing? And many people don't say anything.
Well, yeah, that's right. Because they don't know what to say. All right. So if you're talking about grief, all right. And somebody, my husband passed away. So what could be something that someone could do or say? You come over and you say, I know I can't do anything. I can't make you feel better. There's absolutely really, unless you're hungry or whatever, you want to go out for a walk, there's nothing I can do except sit here and bear witness to your grief. We can just sit here. Because a lot of times that's all you want, is for somebody just to sit with you. And you feel awkward. You feel like you can't ask for that, because it's kind of like weird. I don't know. I mean, I can ask my mom to sit there, but like, I didn't realize until months into it that I could have asked my girlfriend, Jen, would you just sit with me? Just sit. I just need somebody to sit with me. And now I know to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I've been at, wakes and such in recent, like the fall, that's what I said to my cousin. I can't do anything for you, but I would be very happy to sit with you, bear witness to your grief, hold space for your grief, and she was like, I can't even believe you would offer me that. She was like, wow, no one else. They want to bring me food. I have food out the wazoo, but that's okay. You're going to need the food.
Right,
but anyway,
right.
That is a nice thing. And what's really cool, though, what's really, I think, important, when somebody is grieving, the worst thing somebody else can do is come up and go, oh, I know you feel. I lost my grandma. She was like only in her 70s. She had so much left to give. Oh my God. You know what? I am sorry for you and your grandma, but this is not your time.
It's not about you. Right.
Not about you right now.
Right.
It's about me. The best thing is, I'm very sorry for your loss. And, can I sit with you? What have you? Or just, I'm very sorry for your loss, sincerely. And that's enough.
Yeah.
But,
gosh.
most folks,
But I think people like to hear a suggestion, because people are so do oriented.
Mhm.
That's why they give food. That's all we know how to do, is we can give food. But
and it's also like, you can't just sit and be quiet, because you're right, it's awkward. And you're like, then you start, like for me, then I feel like I've got to start filling that space. So I got to start talking.
So there's another expression that I love, and it's, she who talks first loses. Always good to remember in maybe a meeting or a negotiation. Even good to remember, though, when you really want to be there and it's getting close to 4:45 and you've been sitting with that friend all day and she's still sitting there and you're thinking, is she hungry? Does she need a cocktail? Am I hungry? Do I need a cocktail? Should I get up? What should I do? Wait, just wait a few more minutes. Just try to wait. Try not to speak.
that is so hard.
Great advice. That's
But
hard.
it is perfect. It is perfect.
Hard, but you can do it, because eventually the person, it's very possible. I'm sitting with my sister-in-law. She's going to look at me and go, it's time for wine. I'm done with all of this mourning right now. And okay, you made the call.
Or I want to go for a walk, because it's so
Exactly.
nice. Can we get our shoes?
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And
It's
you're
hard
not
to be
afraid to
quiet.
add humor, which I really appreciate. Never afraid.
I don't know
for
how
humor.
anybody gets through it without laughing.
Well, they have to. But you have created such a beautiful life for yourself. So I want to give you a few minutes just to talk about your life now, your boys that are being so, they miss their dad so much, just like you did. And yet they've grown up because you pushed Casey and you allowed Kyler to really be involved in all this stuff that takes a lot of time. And so talk a little bit just about you and your guys.
Okay, my guys are unbelievably 31 and 24. Now, how that happened when I am only 14, I don't know. Okay, but they're men. I did to Casey what Stu and I always agreed we would do for Casey, was we're not going to let anybody else limit him. And we were going to let him limit himself. We were just going to push until we couldn't push anymore. And as it turned out, it worked. And a lot of the things the therapists we worked with told us ages ago absolutely turned out to be true. It was like, not that he was never going to get there. He was just delayed. He was absolutely going to get there. Like when I talk to my Casey today, these days, he's 31. Maybe that makes him like 26, I guess, but he's mature and responsible and well-spoken and he takes care of everything in his life like a responsible adult, all the things you worry about, you know, that your kid might or might not
Yeah.
do. He's just amazing. He really is. And he continues to impress me, impresses Robert. Robert and I have been together since 2017. And we talk about how much Casey has grown in that time.
Wow.
And he really has, and he continues to make progress. And as for Kyler, you know, Kyler got bitten by rugby. When there was a bit of a British influence on our lives, and that's it. He played rugby all through college. He trained in New Zealand before he went to college, and now he's playing for the Sabercats out in Houston. And he loves it. You know, it's his entire life. It's absolutely his entire life. And he's a great guy. He's very mature, very well spoken. In fact, I really like it when he like meets somebody for the first time and he's chatting with them. And then later on, that person comes up to me and goes, "He's lovely."
Of course, he's mine.
So I know that. You know, he's big and good looking and funny and smart, but he's lovely. I know. He's a great guy. They're both cute, great guys. So I'm very proud of them. And I see them just enough. We live in Naples, Florida, and they don't. Casey's in Virginia, Kyler's in Houston. And Rob and I moved here like about a year and a half ago. And we love it here. It's beautiful. So life is good, Marianne. Thank God. You know, I'm married to a great guy. He puts up with my craziness.
And
you know?
and supports everything you're doing.
Yeah.
And this Bounce the memoir is your third Amazon bestseller. And that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, you've been the editor of She magazine and many great writing assignments and stuff like that, and editing assignments, but 3 Amazon bestsellers under your belt.
Yeah.
And you're
just like a prime example. You just have to, like you said, just keep putting one foot in front of the other and just try. You just got to take that leap and just say, I don't really know where this is going to go. I'm just going to cobble it together, and it works out.
It does.
Your heart's in it.
There's a TED Talk. I'm sorry.
No, go, because I want to talk
and
about
I forget who gave it, but I think if we Google it, we'll find out. The expression, you know, you fake it till you make it, which I really like, and I get that. But there's a woman who gave a TED Talk about faking it till you become it. And it's excellent. And she's right. Once, you know, you go long enough, you wake up one morning and you are what you were struggling to get to.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling. You get there.
And I want to tell people too, that's a great point, but your TED Talk. So Susan McCorkindale's TEDx talk is on YouTube. You can Google Susan McCorkindale TEDx.
Yeah, type my name in.
I'm going to try to fit it in here, but I'm technology challenged, so I'm going to try to fit the link in. If I don't,
we're faking it till we become it on technology.
Exactly, we're doing it.
We're doing that thing, and you are such a perfect role model for our "Isn't She Amazing" podcast, because everything you say, every action you take, and we want women to know what it feels like to be amazing and know that they are perfect just the way they are, as they're becoming more and more authentic every day, just like you, Susan. So I can't think of a better guest, huh, Lorna?
I love this conversation. Like, I loved the book. I loved it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. That
and it was just so much like you just
leave me a review, okay? Come on, take 2 minutes. What a brat, right? You're like, we like her.
We have to write a review.
We do like her.
And we like you. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Lorna, is there anything that we forgot to ask? I mean, we have a whole list of things we wanted to talk about, but there's only limited amount of time. But is there anything you want to ask Susan before we let her go?
No, I just think she's just amazing. And it's really not, it's not just, grief is not just a death. Grief is a transition. Grief is losing your job or your kids moving away, or you experience a lot of that grief regardless of what, but it's really a transition. Death is, of course, the most significant, but there are many women feel that same feeling throughout their lives.
There are all sorts of
Wow.
little deaths,
Thank
Right.
you.
and they're transitions, and you get through them. That's it.
That's right.
You know. Thank you for having me on.
Well, Susan,
Thank
you are
you.
amazing, and thank our audience. We want to thank you guys for joining us for Isn't She Amazing podcast. So we will see you soon. And Susan, we want everybody to go out and buy Bounce.
Bounce.
Yes, please.
And give a review if you once you read it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
ladies.